Coming into the season, I thought the NFC North was a two-man race between the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings. I had Detroit in third, finishing at 8-8, and I had the Chicago Bears sniffing the scent at the end of the trail. But admittedly, so much has changed in this division in just 3 weeks' time, and now the division as a whole looks completely different. So let's break it down now, here on Intermittent Sports. Hello and welcome to Intermittent Sports, the channel where we go over the Detroit Lions, Detroit Tigers, Detroit Pistons, and Michigan Wolverines. So if you're a fan of 1, 2, 3, or all 4 of those teams, go ahead and subscribe right here, hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of the Michigan sports action, and hey, if you're a fan of some of the teams that play against those teams, we'd love to have you in this community as well so that we can jabber a little bit politely. Today we look thoroughly into the NFC North and give our prediction on who will finish first, second, third, and fourth now that we know what each team is about. Now, right off the bat, I can tell you that Minnesota is pretty irrelevant in this conversation. Personally, I had them winning the division coming into the 2020 season. I knew that they had lost Everson Griffin and Stephon Diggs, but I also knew that they had drafted Justin Jefferson and they had finished in the division pretty well over the recent years. However, they've now started the season 0-3, of course, and their losses aren't particularly good. They lost to a Tennessee Titans team at home that barely beat the Broncos and the Titans. They got smoked by the Colts 28-11, and they got rocked by the Packers. The 8th ranked defense from a year ago in the NFL gave up 364 passing yards to Aaron Rodgers, as well as 4 touchdowns. 156 of those yards and 2 of those end zone trips went to Devontae Adams. So 2 losses to teams in the AFC South and a throbbing from the Green Bay Packers make me feel comfortable to say that the Minnesota Vikings cannot have their names in the hat. In fact, I have them finishing at 7-9, and since this isn't the pathetic division that is the NFC East, that will make them eliminated by week 13 or so. Next up, we have our Detroit Lions, and even though this is a Detroit and Michigan YouTube channel, I'm not going to lie or pander to the audience. If Detroit was 2-1 right now like they should have been, how did we blow that game? I'd probably narrow the race down to the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers, but since it was the Bears that got it done against us, here we are. And let me tell you, that game is going to be viewed as absolutely critical at the end of the season, and we're going to kick our butts over it. Coming into the season on this channel, I had the Lions finishing at 8-8. However, after 3 weeks of action, I've noticed that the Vikings and the Falcons are not as good as I thought they were. So I now have us winning at Atlanta and splitting the series between us and the Minnesota Vikings, when I originally had us going 0-3 in those games. What is very interesting for the Detroit Lions is this actual week against the New Orleans Saints. Steal a victory at home against the 4-point favorites, and we might have ourselves a shot. But lose as I suspect we will, and we'll probably be out of the race, sitting there at 1-3 with too much ground to cover. By the way, if we win, I'm talking playoffs, not division. That's over. The reason why I think we're going to lose this game is because, well, the Saints have lost the last 2. They're now at 1-2 just like us, and they are focused more than ever. They have to be in this situation. And guess what? If both teams are focused coming in, then the better team's probably going to win, which in this case is the New Orleans Saints. That, and Michael Thomas might be back for the Saints. So ultimately, I have us finishing at 9-7, and that will not be good enough for the big show. Not in the NFC, at least. It also won't be good enough to win the NFC North, of course. So next team. Alright, the division is now down to these very Green Bay Packers, which I'm talking about now, and the Chicago Bears. Let's go over the rest of the Green Bay Packers schedule now so I can show you how I derived at the record that I got them at. First off, the Packers are going to lose one inexplicable game that they have no business losing. That is just something I've noticed that they do in the Aaron Rodgers era every time they have a good team. Last year, that loss was at the LA Chargers against Phillip Rivers. This year, I'm also going to pick Phillip Rivers to get it done, this time with the Indianapolis Colts. That's the inexplicable game I have the Packers losing. With that said, let's go in order here. They've got Atlanta this week. Win. At Tampa Bay, loss. Love that matchup, by the way. At Houston, win. Versus Minnesota, win. At San Francisco, not this time Niners, win Green Bay. Versus Jacksonville, that's a thumping in favor of the Packers. At Indy, that's my surprise loss, of course. Versus Chicago, win. Sorry, Bears fans. Versus Philly, that one could be interesting despite Philly's slow start, but I'm going to take Green Bay. At my Detroit Lions, I think we're going to get them in the rematch at Ford Field this time around. Dub Lions. Versus Carolina, win. Versus Tennessee, win. And then at Chicago for the season finale, hold that thought, okay? Let's build some suspense. By my count, that puts them at 12-3 going into the last game of the season at Soldier Field. But boy, oh boy, do those Packers have a lot of work to do on the defensive side of the ball. Aaron and company can't get all the wins for Green Bay. They can't do it all by themselves, so some tune-up is necessary. And lastly, we talk about the Bears, and I tell you where I think they're going to end up come season's end. First off, two absolute positives that I want to start off with. The first is pulling Mitch Trubisky in favor of Nick Foles. I personally thought this was inevitable, but I'm glad they actually did it. This is early in the season, and the Bears were 3-0, but it was obvious that this is what needed to be done. So kudos to them for not letting their record stand in the way of seeing that Mitch Trubisky is not the answer here. Nick Foles is just an absolute winner. In fact, I would argue that the signing of Nick Foles made this conclusion so much easier to draw upon, because if it was Chase Daniel in that same position as the number 2 quarterback, I don't think they would be pulling the trigger quite so early. And 2, excellent job of starting out 3-0, all things considered. The Chicago Bears could quite easily be the opposite at 0-3. They've not only played great late in games, they've been able to take advantage of other teams' miscues. And what do they say? Whatever you gotta do to get the W in the National Football League, that's all that matters. And now, as I alluded to earlier, this team just got that much better under Nick Foles' direction. However, I can't ignore the fact that they have a lack of explosiveness on the offensive side of the ball, especially now with Tariq Cohen down for the season with a torn ACL. I've had 2 of those. I know how painful they are and how terrible the recovery time is. Praying for a speedy one for Tariq. Definitely looking forward to seeing you back on the field sooner rather than later. You're an absolute special talent, and we can't wait to get you back. Now, without further ado, we break down the results for the rest of the season for the Chicago Bears. Versus Indy. Too much offense from the Colts here. I like Indy. Versus Tampa Bay. I like Tom Brady and company here in a close one. Very interested to see that Brady-Foles matchup with 2 different teams this time around. At Carolina. Look, I know I have a lot of Chicago Bears fans on this channel, so this might be dumb of me, but I do want to give you the truth on how I actually feel. And I feel like Carolina is going to get this win. I don't know why. I can't give you a real reason. It's just at Bank of America Stadium, and I just have this inkling. Don't hate me, okay? I'm just making a prediction. I wish the best for you guys. That's just my gut instinct. At LA Rams, loss. Versus New Orleans, loss. At Tennessee, win. Versus Minnesota, win. At Green Bay, loss. Versus the Detroit Lions, I think the boys in Honolulu Blue had this one circled after week 1 happened. I like Detroit. Versus Houston, win. At Minnesota, loss. At Jacksonville, win. And finally, versus Green Bay, the game I wouldn't give away earlier, I think I like the Packers here. Thus, I have the Chicago Bears finishing 7-9 and tied for last in the NFC North division. Again, I know a lot of the subscribers that we have so far are Chicago Bears fans. I hope you guys stay subscribed. If you disagree with me, feel free to. That's what this channel's all about, is the community aspect and talking it out. I'll see y'all in the comments, and I will respond to the mature and reasonable ones. I was very impressed with the maturity and sportsmanship of the comments in the reaction video when I did it against the Chicago Bears, so I expect to see much of the same thing out of you loyal Chicago Bears fans. With all that said, that Chicago Bears defense is absolutely nasty, so I can definitely see me being proved wrong in this scenario. And as I said earlier, moving to Nick Foles made the Chicago Bears a better football team on that side of the ball, no doubt about it. My concern for the Chicago Bears is not as much about them as it is the teams they'll be facing the rest of the way. To date, their 3-0 start is against teams that have a collective record of 1-8, and all of those 3 games went down to the wire, so it's important for Chicago Bears fans to keep that into perspective. They've done a great job of finishing these games and starting out undefeated, but the plate gets that much heavier for weeks 4 through 16. It's going to be a tough slate to say the least. So in the end, it will be the Packers finishing at 13-3 for the 2nd year in a row, finishing first in the division. I personally have been very impressed with the chip that Aaron Rodgers has come out with on his shoulder. They've been able to run the ball well, they've won with ease, and they've beaten those teams that we thought were average to good coming into the year, no problem at all. And their defense, which has struggled at times, has been good enough to make it to where they don't have to sweat out these games. They are an absolute force to be reckoned with, not just in the NFC North and in the regular season, but come January and February as well. Now, I cannot wait to catch you guys in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on who you think is going to win the division and why. I'll be responding to the mature and responsible comments that I see. Looking forward to it. Let me know what I got wrong, let me know what I got right, and go ahead and join this community so that we can talk the sport we love, in this case, football. And if you did enjoy this video, hey, there's a like button that you're supposed to hit to let YouTube know that you enjoyed it. If you could do that for me, that'd be great. All right, I'll holler at you guys later. See y'all next time. Bye. Go Lions.